Russell Westbrook parting ways with agent Thad Foucher of Wasserman after 14 years, that per Adrian Wojnarowski. Foucher cited irreconcilable differences between the two, in addition to not having full alignment on Russ remaining with the Lakers through his contract. Jovan Buha said in The Athletic, the dynamic between the Lakers and Westbrook is becoming untenable with each passing week as they seemingly head for an inevitable divorce. Okay, I will only tell you I don't have multiple sources on this. Just one person within the Lakers told me that this past year with Westbrook was awful and was a, quote, disaster. And it's really interesting that, the Lakers spent so much, I don't want to say equity, but at least jibber jabber and time over this offseason trying to talk themselves into Russell Westbrook. I mean, they reportedly asked their new head coaching candidates how they would use Westbrook, what they would think of Westbrook, only now to potentially trade Westbrook. Of course, it would be completely fair to say, well, that was before we thought we'd get our hands on Kyrie Irving, which seems very, very possible. But that's a lot. I mean, look, anybody's been through it. Divorce is not good. It's not fun. It brings out the worst in people. Right? People who are formerly in love suddenly now are fighting over the most menial things. But you have to actually look at the totality of Russell Westbrook over the past couple years. This would be, and his agent, Foucher, said this, like fourth trade in 4 years. Right? His advice was stick it out, stick with the Lakers, buy into whatever their plan is. I think that's just lip service. I think this goose is cooked. I think it's done. And what happens with players is when their own play, their own attitude, their own persona causes them to have to change teams, like anybody else, they lash out. They lash out. I mean, look, the sign of maturity is things go wrong and they go, I need to check myself. But most of us are not to that point of clarity. Most of us need a lot of therapy to get there, maybe a long hike, maybe some yoga, maybe some meditation. Maybe they need this to happen a couple of times. And look, here's the thing about Russell Westbrook. Do not get it twisted. Off the basketball floor, he is a fantastic guy. I don't know anybody who says, hey, off the basketball floor, that stuff is all phony. He gives back to the community. Okay? His community in Los Angeles is a big recipient of his goodwill. By all accounts, he's a good dad and a good dude, and people seem to like him. Right? But what was created in Oklahoma City was a monster that can't exist elsewhere and be successful. That's it. I mean, look, Russell Westbrook's behavior in Oklahoma City, and I know that Utah has now become a factor potentially because they have all this picks and because it appears like they may be tanking and reforming themselves. Utah has become a potential destination, maybe to buy him out, I'm not really sure, but they have all those picks. And part of what the Lakers want in return is picks more than anything else. But it is interesting, maybe even fascinating, that here's a guy, 4 teams in 4 years. Right? I mean, look, we know people that shouldn't be married, and they're married 2 or 3 different times, and the 4th time, the 5th time, whatever, you're like, maybe you shouldn't be married. And I would say that one of the things that Russell Westbrook struggles with is when we told you those were inflated stats, when we told you that the triple-doubles didn't mean nearly as much as triple-doubles maybe should actually mean, the pushback from people in Oklahoma City was, oh, you're just a hater. You're a hater. Right? Because there was this sympathy because Kevin Durant had left. And there's this sympathy for Oklahoma City because of their lot in life. That they were so close, and yet KD leaves, and here, Russell Westbrook puts up these numbers. If we go based upon stats, raw, unfiltered, old school stats, Russell Westbrook had 3 consecutive years of the greatest years in the history of the NBA. Remember, no one had averaged a triple-double since Oscar Robertson. Ask yourself how old Oscar Robertson is. Ask yourself if any of you saw Oscar Robertson play. I didn't. I know late in his career, one of those Celtics championship teams, he was on it. I didn't. I know my dad told me how great he is. I did. That's how long ago it had been since somebody averaged triple-double. Even the great Magic Johnson did not average a triple-double. So if you go by stats, he was arguably the greatest player, had the greatest seasons ever. And if you said, hey, really, I don't need point guards to be rebounding. Oh, hey, yes, he leads the league, or he has all these assists, but he doesn't really create shots for others. It's more about ball dominance. Oh, hey, he scores points, okay, but he shoots a poor percentage, not just from 3, but at the rim, and his shooting percentage is getting worse. You say these things to people, and they're like, dude, triple-double. 4 teams, 4 years, and each of them have. I mean, Washington, I would guess, is the only one that didn't end really poorly. But at some point, when you go through a divorce, 2 divorces, 3 divorces, 4 divorces, more, it's not about everybody else. It's about you.